You are holding on to something right now, something that is slowly draining you. Maybe it is a person, maybe it is a version of yourself that no longer exists. Maybe it is a moment in time that already passed, and you keep replaying it, like a movie that always ends the same way. You wake up thinking about it, you go to sleep thinking about it, and no matter how hard you try, you just cannot let it go. Here is the truth nobody tells you. The pain you feel right now is not coming from the thing you lost. It is coming from your refusal to accept that it is gone. The ancient Stoics figured this out over 2,000 years ago, and what they discovered will change the way you think about everything. Stay with me, because what I am about to share is not your typical motivational talk. This is different. This is deeper. This is the real stuff. Section 1. The problem with attachment. Let me ask you something real. When was the last time you felt truly free? Not just happy for a moment, but actually free. Free from the weight of expectations. Free from the memory of what went wrong. Free from the fear of what comes next. Most people never feel that. Not because they are weak, but because nobody taught them how the mind actually works. See, we are wired for attachment. Our brains are literally designed to hold on, to people, to outcomes, to our own self-image. And when those things disappear, or change, or fall apart, we feel like we are falling apart with them. Psychologists call this loss aversion. We feel the pain of losing something twice as intensely as the pleasure of gaining it. Twice as hard. That is not weakness. That is just human biology. But here is the thing about the Stoics. They were not running from their biology. They were working with it. They developed a set of principles so precise, so psychologically sharp, that modern therapists are literally borrowing from them. And those 12 principles are exactly what we are covering today. If you have been stuck in your head lately, if something happened that you cannot seem to move past, this video was made for you. Drop a comment right now. Tell me what you are trying to let go of. You do not have to be specific. Just say it, because naming it is the first step. Section 2. Who were the Stoics? Real quick, because I know some of you are new here. Stoicism was not a religion. It was not some ancient self-help trend. It was a school of philosophy, founded in Athens around 300 BC, and it spread through the Roman Empire because it worked. The men who practiced it were not monks hiding from the world. Marcus Aurelius was an emperor, commanding armies, managing a collapsing empire, dealing with plague and betrayal. Epictetus was a slave, literally owned by another man. No rights, no freedom, no control over his physical body. And yet, he became one of the freest minds in all of human history. Seneca was one of the wealthiest men in Rome, and he still wrote about the emptiness that wealth creates. These were not men speaking from comfort. They were men who had been through it, and they all landed on the same conclusion. Attachment to outcomes is the source of suffering. Detachment from outcomes is the path to power. Now let me show you exactly how they did it, principle by principle. Number 1, the dichotomy of control. This is where everything starts. This is the foundation. You cannot skip this one. Epictetus said it plainly. Some things are up to us, some things are not. That is it. That is the whole game. What is up to you? Your thoughts, your reactions, your effort, your values. What is not up to you? Other people's choices, the economy, the weather, what happened last year, other people's opinions of you. Now here is where most people mess up. They spend 90% of their energy on the things they cannot control, and then wonder why they feel exhausted and powerless. Think about the last time you were upset about something. Was it something you could actually change? Or was it something that already happened, or something someone else did, or something that might happen in the future. None of those are in your column. And the Stoics said, pouring your energy there is like trying to hold water in your hands. It just keeps slipping through and leaving you empty. So how do you apply this today? Take out a piece of paper, literally right now if you can. Draw a line down the middle. On one side, write, what I can control. On the other side, write, what I cannot control. And be brutal about it. Be honest. Most of the stuff keeping you up at night will end up on the right side of that line. And that is not depressing. That is actually liberating. Because once you see it clearly, you can stop fighting it and start redirecting that energy into the things that actually matter. This one principle alone has changed more lives than most therapy sessions. But here is the wild part. The principle gets even deeper, and most people never get to the next layer. Stay right there. Number 2, love your fate. This one is harder. This one requires real mental toughness. Amor fati. It is a Latin phrase. It means love of fate. Not just accept what happens, not just tolerate it, love it. Marcus Aurelius put it this way in his private journal. He said, to love everything that happens, because it is part of the whole. Everything that happens to you, the failures, the betrayals, the loss, the embarrassment, the rejection, all of it, is the raw material of who you are becoming. Now, I know what you are thinking. That sounds like cope. That sounds like just telling yourself everything happens for a reason. But it is not that. It is something much more practical. The Stoics were not saying bad things are secretly good. They were saying your resistance to bad things is what makes them unbearable. Think about it this way. Imagine you fall and you tense up. You get hurt worse. But if you had relaxed, the impact spreads and you recover faster. Your emotional pain works the same way. The tighter you hold on to, why did this happen to me, the longer it owns you. Amor fati flips the script. Instead of asking, why did this happen to me, you ask, what does this make possible? Your relationship ended. What does that make possible? You lost the job. What does that make possible? You got betrayed by someone you trusted. What does that now make possible? This is not toxic positivity. This is strategic thinking. The greatest breakthroughs in human history came from people who refused to let the worst moments define their ceiling. They let those moments become their fuel, and so can you. But wait, because there is a principle coming up that most people in the Stoic community never talk about, and it might be the most powerful one on this list. Number 3, negative visualization. This sounds dark on the surface, but stay with me. The Stoics had a practice called premeditatio malorum, premeditation of evils. In plain terms, they would deliberately sit with the worst-case scenario, not to be pessimistic, not to spiral into anxiety, but to strip away the illusion of permanence. Here is how it works. Think about something you love right now, a relationship, your health, your home, your reputation. Now, imagine it gone, just for a moment. Not to scare yourself, but to feel how much you are taking it for granted. The Stoics believed that we suffer more in imagination than in reality, and that true suffering comes from unprepared attachment. When you regularly imagine the loss of what you love, 2 things happen. 1, you start appreciating what you have at a level most people never experience. 2, you stop being blindsided when things actually change, because nothing lasts forever. Not the good stuff, not the bad stuff, not relationships, not pain, not success, not failure. Everything is temporary. Everything is on loan. The Stoics called this treating everything like a borrowed gift. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "When your child dies, remember that you were always holding something borrowed, not something owned." Now that sounds brutal, but what he was actually saying is, the grief comes from the illusion of ownership. When you love without owning, you live without the crushing weight of expectation. You love more fully because you know the clock is running and you are not owed another moment. This principle alone can transform how you love people, how you hold your career, how you relate to your body as it changes, because every single thing in your life is on loan. The Stoics just had the courage to look that truth in the face and smile at it. We are 3 principles in, and if you are feeling something right now that makes sense, this stuff hits different. When you actually sit with it, if this video is hitting home, drop a like right now. It takes 1 second, and it tells me to keep making content like this. Also, which principle so far feels the hardest to practice? The dichotomy of control, amor fati, or negative visualization? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. Now let us keep going, because the next principle is where things start getting really uncomfortable. Number 4, the view from above. The Stoics had this mental exercise. They called it the view from above. Marcus Aurelius would do this regularly. He would zoom out in his mind. Imagine himself looking at his life from high above, and then keep zooming further and further until he could see the entire city, then the entire country, then the entire planet. And from that view, his drama, his betrayals, his political chaos started to look very, very small. Now, here is why this matters for you. When you are deep in pain or anger or obsession over something, your brain thinks that thing is the entire world. It fills your whole mental screen. It is all you can see. The view from above gives you back your perspective. Here is how to practice it right now. Close your eyes if you are somewhere safe. Picture yourself where you are sitting. Now, zoom out. See the room you are in. Now zoom out more. See the building, the neighborhood, the city. Now zoom out further. See the country, the planet, the stars above it. And from up there, ask yourself, will this thing that is consuming me matter in 10 years? Will it matter in 50 years? Will it even be remembered in 100 years? Most of the things that feel like they are destroying us are gone from memory before the next generation. And that is not a reason to stop caring about your life. It is a reason to stop letting small things take you hostage. The Stoics were not trying to make you emotionless. They were trying to help you save your emotions for the things that actually deserve them. Number 5, the obstacle is the way. This is the one that Ryan Holiday made famous, but the original idea goes back to Marcus Aurelius. He wrote in Meditations, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Let me break that down, because those words are loaded. Most of us treat obstacles like stop signs. Something went wrong, so we stop, we wait, we complain, we spiral. The Stoics treated obstacles like arrows pointing forward. They asked, not how do I get around this, but how does this move me forward? Here is a real example. You got laid off. Most people stop there. The Stoic mind says, okay, I got laid off. Now I know this company was not my destination. Now I have time to build the skill I was avoiding. Now I have a story that makes me more resilient. Now I have motivation I did not have before. The obstacle became the fuel, not automatically, not magically, but through a deliberate choice to see it that way. And this is where Stoicism gets separated from basic positive thinking. Positive thinking says, just believe things will work out. Stoicism says, do not just believe, transform the obstacle itself into the next step forward. The pain you are carrying right now could be the exact weight you needed to build a strength you never would have built otherwise, but only if you choose to carry it that way. Number 6, remember, you will die. Here it is, the big one, the one that makes people uncomfortable. Memento Mori. Remember that you will die. The Stoics were obsessed with this, not because they were morbid, but because they understood that the awareness of death is the greatest motivator to actually live. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." Let me ask you something. If you knew you had 6 months left, would you still be obsessing over that thing from 3 years ago? Would you still be holding that grudge? Would you still be waiting for the perfect moment to start the thing you keep putting off? Most people live like they have unlimited time, and so they waste it on anger, on regret, on waiting, on holding back. The Stoics refused to waste it because they kept the deadline visible. They literally kept skulls on their desks as a reminder, not as a decoration, as a daily alarm clock, saying, "Today matters. This moment matters. The person in front of you matters, because all of it is going to end, and you do not know when." Here is the application. Every morning, before you pick up your phone, sit for 60 seconds and say, "I will not live forever." What actually matters today? Not what is urgent, not what is loud. What actually matters. This is how the Stoics started their days, and it is how they ended up living with more intention than most people manage in a lifetime. And I need you to stay with me because the second half of this list gets into territory that most Stoic channels never even touch. These next principles are the ones that take you from understanding Stoicism to actually living it. If you have not subscribed yet, hit that button right now. We drop deep content like this every week on this channel. Stoic Mind Daily is not just a name, it is a practice. And the community we are building here is people who are done living on autopilot. Okay, let us go. Number 7. Live according to nature. This one sounds simple, but it goes very deep. The Stoics believed that every person has a nature, a set of values and capacities that are uniquely yours. And they believed that suffering comes when you live against that nature, when you pretend to be someone you are not, when you chase outcomes that are not actually yours, when you measure yourself by someone else's ruler. Here is the modern version of this. You scroll through social media and you see someone else's life, and something in you feels like you are behind, like you are failing, like you should be further along. That feeling is not your soul speaking. That is comparison, which is just another word for living against your nature. The Stoics said, "A wolf does not compare itself to a lion. A river does not compete with the ocean." Everything in nature moves according to what it is, not what something else is. Your path is not someone else's path. Your timeline is not their timeline. Your capacity is not their capacity.
And when you stop measuring yourself against people who are not you, something shifts. You stop being tired from trying to be something you were never designed to be, and you start having energy for the thing you actually are here to do. Number 8. Practice voluntary discomfort. This is the one that separates people who talk about Stoicism from people who actually live it. The Stoics deliberately practiced discomfort. Seneca would sometimes eat nothing but the cheapest food available for days at a time, even though he was rich, not because he had to, but to remind himself that he could survive. Without comfort, Marcus Aurelius would sleep on the floor. Even with a palace around him, Epictetus taught that you should regularly choose the harder option. Not always, but enough to keep your comfort zone from becoming a prison. Here is why this matters. When you never voluntarily experience discomfort, every small inconvenience feels like a crisis. Every bit of uncertainty feels unbearable. Every loss feels unsurvivable. But when you regularly practice choosing the hard thing, you build what the Stoics called psychological resilience. You stop being at the mercy of your circumstances because you have already proven to yourself that you can handle more than your default comfort level. Here is a simple way to start. Do one uncomfortable thing today, on purpose, not a big thing, not dangerous, just uncomfortable. Skip the easy lunch and eat plain. Take a cold shower. Have the conversation you have been avoiding. go to the gym when you do not feel like it. Every time you voluntarily choose discomfort, you are telling your nervous system, I run this. Not my cravings, not my fears, not my past. I run this. Number 9, the eternal present. This one is about time and how most people misuse it. The Stoics notice something that modern psychology has confirmed. Humans spend most of their mental time in two places, the past and the future, and almost no time in the only place that is actually real. The present regret lives in the past, anxiety lives in the future, peace only lives in. Now, Marcus Aurelius wrote, confine yourself to the present, not forever, just right now. For this breath, for this moment, for this conversation, for this task, and the weight of the past and the fear of the future have no power here. Now, this sounds like mindfulness, and it is. But the Stoics came up with this long before it had that name. And what makes the Stoic version different is that it is not just about relaxation, it is about action. You can only act in the present. You cannot fix the past from here. You cannot control the future from here. The only leverage you have is what you do right now. Every time you drift into regret, you are burning energy on a timeline you cannot touch. Every time you spiral into worry, you are spending a resource in a place that does not exist yet. The present is the only place where your choices actually land. Stay here. This is where your life is happening. Principle 10. Judge actions, not people. This one is going to sting a little because it involves letting go of something. We hold on to hard. The story we have about who wronged us and how bad they are. The Stoics had a practice when someone hurt them, they would ask what moved them to do this. Not to excuse it, not to let it slide, but to understand it. Epictetus said, when you are hurt by someone, remember that they acted according to what seemed right to them, not to you, to them. Now here is what that means. Every person who has ever hurt you was operating from their own level of knowledge, their own wounds, their own fear, their own limitations, not yours. The person who betrayed you was not seeing you clearly. They were seeing the world through the fog of their own pain. And when you keep hating them, when you keep rehearsing the story of what they did, you are letting their fog cloud your vision too. This is not about forgiving people who do not deserve it. This is about refusing to let someone else's dysfunction live rent-free in your head. For another day, you cut people off to protect your peace, not out of anger. You move on. Not because they earned it, but because you deserve to stop carrying them. Number 11, simplicity is strength. The Stoics believe that most suffering is self-inflicted through excessive wanting. Seneca wrote, it is not the man who has too little. Who is poor, it is the man who craves more. That is one of the sharpest lines. In all of philosophy, we live in a culture that tells you, you always need more. More money, more followers, more validation, more success, more stuff, more status. And the feeling of not enough is built into the system because a content person is not a good consumer. But the Stoics saw this trap 2,000 years before Instagram existed, and they practiced what they called enough thinking, where they regularly asked, how much of what I want do I actually need? Not to become minimalists, not to stop having goals, but to stop letting desire become a treadmill that goes nowhere. Here is the application. Next time you feel that craving, that feeling of I need more, or this is not enough, pause for just 5 seconds and ask, is this desire serving me or am I serving it? Because there is a difference between wanting growth and being driven by emptiness. The Stoics chased growth from fullness, from purpose, from values, not from a hole they were trying to fill. Number 12, the practice of returning. This is the last principle, and it might be the most important one, because it is not about any single insight or technique. It is about what you do when you forget everything else. And trust me, you will forget. You will have a bad day, and all of this will fly out the window. You will get triggered. You will react instead of respond. You will spiral. You will hold on when you should let go. And that is okay, because the 12th principle of Stoicism is simply this: return. Return to the practice without shame, without self-judgment, without the story that you failed. Because the Stoics did not believe in perfection, they believed in practice. Marcus Aurelius himself, the greatest Stoic emperor, wrote about his own failures in his journal. He wrote about losing his temper, about feeling bitter, about struggling with attachment, and then wrote, "Begin again. Every single morning is a fresh start, not a continuation of yesterday's failures. Every single moment is a chance to return to what you know is true. You do not have to be perfect, you just have to keep coming back to the principles, to the practice, to the version of yourself that you are building. One return at a time." Let me bring this all together, because here is what I want you to really feel, not just understand. Feel. The Stoics were not trying to build robots. They were not trying to numb you or make you stop caring. They were trying to build unbreakable human beings, people who could love fully without being destroyed by loss, people who could pursue goals intensely without being hollowed out by failure, people who could be loyal without needing others to be loyal back to keep going. They were building people who could look at the hardest moments of their lives and say, "This does not own me, I own me." And here is the truth that most people are not ready to accept. Nobody is coming to save you from your attachment, from your regret, from your inability to let go. Nobody is going to reach inside your mind and rearrange it for you. That work is yours. These 12 principles are tools, but tools only work when you pick them up and use them every single day, not just on the good days. Every day, the person who practices these principles, in the small moments, the minor frustrations, the tiny disappointments, is building exactly the strength they will need when the big thing hits, and the big thing always hits. That is just life. The question is not, will something hard happen? The question is, who will you be? When it does, let me run through all 12 one more time, fast, so they stick. Principle 1, know what you control and only pour your energy there. Principle 2, love your fate. Let everything that happens become fuel. Principle 3, visualize loss, so you can appreciate what you have and stop being blindsided. Principle 4, zoom out. Use the view from above to reclaim perspective. Principle 5, the obstacle is the way. Every setback is actually a redirect. Principle 6, remember you will die and let that wake you up to what actually matters today. Principle 7, live according to your nature. Stop measuring your life with someone else's ruler. Principle 8, practice voluntary discomfort. Build resilience on purpose before life builds it for you. Principle 9, stay in the present, the only place your power actually exists. Principle 10, judge actions, not people. Detach from the story of who wronged you. Principle 11, practice enough thinking. Stop being owned by wanting. Start being driven by purpose. Principle 12, return, always return, without shame, without drama, just return to the practice. This is Stoicism, not as a philosophy to study, but as a way to live. If you made it this far, I want you to know something. You did not click on this video by accident. Something in you was ready for this. Something in you is tired of being stuck, and that is powerful, because readiness is where change actually starts. So here is what I need from you right now. Drop a comment below. Tell me which one of these 12 principles you are starting with today. Just one. Pick the one that hit you hardest and commit to it in the comments. Hold yourself accountable. Right here. Right now. This community is full of people who are doing exactly what you are doing, trying to build something real from the inside out. If you are not subscribed yet, do that right now. Hit the subscribe button and the bell so you never miss a drop. Because every week on Stoic Mind Daily, we go this deep into the principles that actually change people, not surface-level quotes, not recycled motivation. And if you want to go even deeper, watch the video coming up next.